we are very encouraged with the findings. Basically, in the generic skill, that A means it's a locally. Local means we have compared among these 11 only. So when we say globally, G means globally means compared with all these indicators or all these employable skills. So locally, it's 0.214 is product of 1. Means 0.214, if you convert that into the percentage, it will be around 21%. So problem solving and adaptive skill means locally, if they compare with only this, they just prioritize for the 4% or 4.8%. But if they are compared with the globally, they just prioritize for the 1%. In 18, the top prioritize is attitude and least prioritize is entrepreneurship or initiative or entrepreneurship. So conclusion is like the concept of employability skill as not pressing the curriculum of TPED programs in Nepal, which means that employers are giving high priority on this competence.
Normality, because the linear regression demanded.
You have the 5 indicators of the accountability.
Yeah.
Yes. And among our 5 indicators, which indicators plays the most role to be accountable?
There is clearly the mention that being the accountable in the bureaucracy, the responsiveness and transparency indicators act as the very good. This means that responsibility talks about the rule and regulation, and that might be reasons many of us the things the bureaucracy the directly accountable rule, and he or she during the accomplishment duty he or she follow the rules. So the accountability, responsibility seems good. Another was the transparency indicator was good because they are disclosing their information proactively through the website, press release, annual report, and reactively through a spokesperson and the information officials. And also the responsiveness balance also seems good, but it is very hard to say that in the central level of the bureaucracy, the very few people are visited, very few beneficiaries are the visited there. Most of them are the higher level of the people are generally the visited there. So they are the rated responsiveness is also very good. But controllability and the liability is very weak in the Nepali bureaucracy.
If you go through the multiple regression analysis, then it will give the clearly how much percentage they contribute for the accountability.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Everybody, we have the technology, we are using the mobile and computers, laptops, and different types of technological tools. And obviously that tools are to use or to facilitate to learn our systems. And if we see the organization, if we go for the government organization and other types of institutions, that tools are being used to facilitate the jobs of the employees and to deliver the service to the citizen. In modernizing the course, a case of FL Judiciary, I have worked as a IT director at the Supreme Court of Nepal, and based of my past experiences, I have prepared this paper, and this is quite different to my PhD research.
You have an identity as European. So, as reflecting past shadow got urban citizens have more possibility to get a good job than rural citizens. And if you are higher educated, you get a better job. And in this green chart, we know that being employed is better than self-employed. This is, I have a reason why being employed, because in China, the law regulated that if the employee, like your employer, has to buy insurance for you. But if you are your own employer, you don't have to. So consider this, being employed, can be get a good job. And the means regression analysis I used in this is as I present here. In the first equation, I used the 3 years, and in the second one, so the result I got here is these variables will have a significant influence to the possibility of entering into primary market. And
for this study, And especially for the study sample and sample size population, M1A 1967 sample size determination, we apply this formula to collect the sample size where total population is 90. Our total population, we conduct this study in the one technical faculty only, lab of the institution, laboratory is the only one faculty, and that the total population is 90. Out of them, sample size is 70. To examine the relationship between the Tibet institution, Tibet student and satisfaction and the physical result. We want to combine the how the students are satisfied, including the existing resource available within the institution. And our research question is based on the Tibet students.
They have some products and if they train specially for that products because they get these business organization, they get demand for that products and they train these young people especially for that products. And these people are provided with the demands and they produce the products and supply to the organizations. So, and then
What kind of activities?
for example, handicraft, so especially if they get a handicraft or order for this one, they especially train for these ones and they give order and they produce this one.
Like mostly your participants belong from the handicraft industry.
Not necessarily, because if they pick up from a very basic skill people, if they train, if they pick up, they produce a good, they give regular skills just to them. And then that's where they get the job. So the private sector, this kind of organizations, they are doing the skills training and employment. That is demand.
There are many trained youth who hardly get opportunities to go to the labor market, and they still remain. Are there such stories among your participants or among?
The bigger problem is we assume that once they are trained, they get into the market. It's not that. It's a combination of personal aspirations. The young people also need to be equally enthusiastic and they need to be market. They need to have market competitive skills. But if I am doing an enterprise business, I'm not going to employ you if you are not delivering result for me because I have business. But what Tibet sector is doing is just training and training because it's getting donor funded. It's not challenged by anybody. And then they say market integration and they just give budget kind of thing and they produce the results.
Where do you?
The limitation was, as we have mentioned, is we only connected in Ganekote municipality, so it cannot be same for all the 744 local government, as the Ganekote is a newly formed municipality, and other municipality may have a better, stronger position or capacity for Tibet funding. And what are our recommendations? The rest was expanded to 62 in 75-76. So from the budget, when we look at the budget, it was mostly of the focus on fulfilling promises that the bureaucrats made during the campaign, rather than focusing on different debate programs. And analyzing the data, we have found that only 0.93% was spent on vocational skills training and
Here to go for the data processing part though. I hope I can do that. But as far as a question, it is very genuine question actually that we all need to be discussing. The main thing is about again the loyalty, because as as a person, somebody who is like responsible, who has admired, who has accepted that I will work for the government and I have signed my agreement, then I need to be loyal to the government where I am assigned. The thing is that I am not loyal, and I am trying to go for the traditional mindset since we have been practicing. There was a political word in last 20 years. So that came out, and they just wanted to be in that the system where they were in. That was the difference. So the first thing is that probably there needs to be a huge discussion, kind of how to way forward, because we can hear different issues from ministers. Somebody like Lal Bhagat Pandit has been kind of giving a kind of conflicting statements about things. And again, if you hear from the people who are responsible to implement or who are leading the bureaucracy at the local level, they are not happy with what the central government is planning. So I think there needs to be like kind of very blended discussion, and then they can just go for the conclusion, well, what benefits the country, or how to bring forward, how to address this transition. This two conflict is creating a really huge issue in Nepal in terms of development, because the expectation of the people are really high, and then we are now still 2 years of forming a new government, and we are still struggling between the conflict between bureaucracy and then government, the short bureaucracy and then long bureaucracy.
But if in case
education, but they are not now into the very higher position. Secondly, in almost every hotels, private hotels, there are now association, the unions, and these unions are actually part of the cadres of these different political parties, especially three parties. And these people, first of all, those people who are occupying now the higher position, they don't want a young, energetic, educated people to come into the industry, because they are very frightened that they're going to take over their job, number one. Secondly, these union people, they also don't want the educated people to come into the industry. And also, if those kind of people come for the internship, they have to pay a handful amount of money as the commission for the internship into their union. And this problem actually we have not been able to solve. I am not much involved in the day-to-day.
Industries Department. Limited. Department of Industries and Commerce. I am General Manager of District. Sir, we have DICs throughout India. All for example, Kashmir, Delhi, we have District Industry Center. They will promote industries. Like that, I am only in charge of one district. So we have one scheme called National Skill Qualification Framework, NSQF. So Government of India, they formed the policy framework for all sector. For example, CNC machine, for auto components, Ford we have in Chennai, Ford India from America. So for that we will select people, give training and then post it again. That model we are having. So Ford will call for an interview, they are unskilled. So we will make them skilled and then send it. This part, some private agents only doing. Sir said that some private is not good. But in our area, TVS is good. We are also not relying on private, because out of 1 month class, they will take only 1 week. Remaining, they will send it and then make money. So we have some government institution, like bank itself, they are having some institution, Rural Self-Employment Training Institute. It's like Indian Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, they are having a training center. They will train on all skills, like two-wheeler servicing, four-wheeler, how to make, whatever product. So my question is, see, in our area, this is the model we are doing. So we will train them, put it in a job, that is one. Or company himself takes some people, we will give money to them. They themselves will train in their machinery. So two models we are having. But I want to know what US model, because ours is still, after that we are facing some unemployment problem. One area we have to promote entrepreneur. For that we are giving loan to start a new industry. Now automobile is somewhat recession. So you know, so many of them are not getting job. So now we are doing the electrical vehicle. So that's what I am a mechanical engineer. So I have also tried a lot of people to start an industry with that locally available resources. The US model, what you have, like in this recession period, economic crisis, what model you have, so that we can develop more industries with more skill, more training. That I want to know. You are the area.
With the businesses, we don't incent them, neither the state nor CareerWise incents them with dollars to participate.
Okay.
And we do that because Ursula told me to. But more than that, and we're now seeing it after 2 years, is it's profitable for the businesses to do this so that we don't pay to do it.
Okay.
But the way the model works then is that the employer is making a decision to bring on apprentices will enter into a marketplace essentially that we've created.
Okay.
Where the students apply and post their resumes into a marketplace, and then the businesses post their job descriptions, and students will then say, I want to go work for X, Y, or Z company. And then they're chosen by the company to interview, then they're interviewed. And then that apprentice will get paid an apprenticeship wage, which is equivalent on average right now around $12 to $13 an hour.
That also we are doing, okay.
20% of it fully trained or how much?
Apprenticeship.
It depends on the skill set. So in some cases, it might be 15 or 20% if somebody's going to be an engineer. So in my company, Intertech, I have an apprentice that is brilliant. And he's now in his third year. We're paying for him to get his engineering degree.
Okay.
So we have other companies, they pay a fee to CareerWise, like an association, so that we can provide the service, the marketplace, develop the curriculum that the industry trains to. So if you're going to go into advanced manufacturing, there's skill sets that industry develops that become the skills and competencies that they're trained to. And so that apprentice then will spend in their first year of the apprenticeship 2 days a week in the business, 3 days a week in the classroom. The second year, 3 days a week in the business, 2 days a week in the classroom. At that point, they're graduating from 12th grade. They've gotten all of their credits from the school, so they get their high school diploma. They've earned some college credit for university if they were to choose to go to university. And then they'll complete that third year. Or we're seeing, I was telling Ursula yesterday,
chefs and trainers, and that they will be working under all the, I'm just really talking about the culinary industry because that is where I come from. So I do not know about the other departments so much. So that is why my question is the Hotel Association of Nepal not only thinking about training the students that join them initially, but also the industry that is present from such long point of time, because we always see very old or old-aged people in the higher positions, and so is that sort of training being provided to them where they are more open to the youth that they are coming, because when they are asked for training, when they are very open to being trained, they rather get a little aggressive approach. The trainers, the chefs that are already working in the industry, because they have not come from a very educated background. So are these kind of programs being taught for in the hospitality sector? I actually wanted to know if there was some publicity, because I wanted to know if there were programs for these kind of people who are already working in the industry itself as well. So because the main
Actually, Sharon, we have been facing, myself, I was, as I told earlier, I was involved with the Hotel Association for more than 32 years. And I was 3 times president, and I work in different capacities there. And I'm running a hotel management school at the moment, International School of Tourism and Hospitality and Tourism. First of all, you make us clear in your particular curriculum, how long is the duration?
It's 1 year.
1 year.
1 year of training.
Out of 1 year, it is 1 year training.
Headmaster or rector, so he can see what they can do to help more students from technical high school to come to the University of Costa Rica. And then here's a comparison of how much number of students graduate from CITA. Hypothesis for this is that in 2018 the teachers union went on a strike of 3 months, so most of the students could not finish high school that year. And that was 3 months, and the ones that they went on a strike were September, October, November.
The relationship between these two factors synergize in organizations, so the organizational success. The motivator factors is in moderate level, but in contrary of it, the hope itself is in high level, and also this moderate motivator factors shows their job nature is valuable, and also the success like in consciousness factors
relationship between consciousness and motivated factors, I found the positive relationship between these two.
Getting loan, and she has to depend on the informal sector or the cooperatives or the MFIs. And because of the limited amount, they have to do from multiple MFIs to get the loan. So this is the situation that is I found. Personal guarantee, good guarantees. So they do, but they have limit. They limit to the certain amount, maybe 200,000, 400,000, 500,000, or something like that. For example, central bank they have the policy that the MFI can lend initial loan 300,000, then go to this collateral 500,000, and maybe the second time. So if they want to have the 2 million, then they have to go to the multiple cooperatives and multiple MFIs.
So, considering staying within this background, we wanted to see public sector fund flow, and we have to limit in public sector because there is lack of information. Public sectors do not investment in TVs. Like, as you know, there is a big investment from the private sector, a big investment from the household or individual. We don't have any information on those parts, so we have to limit only on with the bills. If you want to forget that and want to start with the CTVT, we have the history of 30 years or so. So within this span of time, what we have been able to develop a funding capacity of 100,000. With a history of 80 years or 30 years, so far we have developed funding capacity of only 100,000, including very short-term skills. And within this, so many years, we have been able to have just about 1,500 funding centers and schools, and about 2% of total school, secondary school enrollment in TVET. This shows how small is the TVET factor. Despite our continuous policy priority in government document. And that's one reality, and the other side is annually, as we know, nearly 500,000 youth are coming in the labor market. And as our recent level 4 survey, 1 million people are.
Framework to the V2 program is our unit of analysis. This, of course, we can debate whether this is the right thing. We claim that you come up with new ideas of unit of analysis, no matter, but this is the main process in education, and if that doesn't work, then it's very difficult to say how we can provide better jobs, prepare people for better jobs. Here comes our ELI, education employment linkage in it, because you can just do that, have a social institution without industry people, or you integrate the industry and then you have in the structure coordination. But this requires a culture. We have a will to coordinate among each other. Even applicable to other social fields, if they have a theory and find out the unit of analysis. We need a field-specific theoretical approach. The institutionalization process, then you have here a weak point, and that may be an explanation why at the end you don't have really good outcome effect. That said, our hypothesis, in the future, it was too complex at the beginning. The research in the future will also lead to the question, how are those social institutions interrelated? Because, for example, teacher training, you have a TTITI. In the United States, they have teacher universities. But if you want to introduce a TMET system, what you need and have a qualification standard together with industry, the teacher cannot be just the same teacher. So
the ongoing system, it's very difficult, I know, not to make a radical changes. But if we improve the ongoing one, I think we can do something better in the TVET financing. We should develop we should first talk about the skill system. Just last, I would like to recall the Economist 2016 October that they have produced the
public earning and learning and one special issue. They talk about the first. Let's talk about the bigger picture. Then once we share the bigger picture, then we'll be able to share out the smaller micro elements. I think this is the thing. I want to repeat all these things. And my presentation will be here. And if there are concerns.
ODT भनेर छ अरु टेक्स्ट तपाईले के सो दिस इज द एनदर करिकुलम है फेरि सो द थर्ड तपाईले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने पनि यो चाहिँ करिकुलम फर तपाईको डेली प्रोडक्ट मेकर एन्ड स्विट्स भयो यो चाहिँ सर्ट टर्म ट्रेनिङ भनेर भन्छ यसमा पनि उयो सो out of 80 to 90 pages document so they have invested a small paragraph for teaching and learning methodologies without the detailed explanation छैन पछि यहाँ पनि के देखिन्छ भने नि मेन फोकस चाहिँ लिस्ट अफ कन्टेन्ट मात्र छ टिबिटी को तपाईको त्यो नेपाल कन्टेक्स्टमा हेर्नु के पढ्नु पर्ने भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ टन्न छ पेजेस यो पढ्नु पर्छ यति यो पढ्नु पर्छ यति तर कसरी पढाउनु पर्छ कसरी चाहिँ डेमोन्स्ट्रेसन्स गराउने कसरी प्रोजेक्ट गराउने कसरी केस एनालाइसिस गर्ने सो मेनी थिंग्स आर तपाईको एन्ड फ्रिक्वेन्टली टाइम एन्ड अगेन इन इच करिकुलम दे आर मेकिङ केस एनालाइसिस तर केस एनालाइसिस कसरी गर्ने के गरी भन्ने केही पनि रहेछ त्यो भएकोमा मलाई के लाग्यो भन्दाखेरिमा त्यो पढाउने शैलीमा चाहिँ करिकुलममा पनि धेरै एक्सप्लेनेसन गराएर हुन्छ जुन चाहिँ आवश्यक हुन्छ भन्ने चाहिँ मेरो आर्गुमेन्ट रह्यो अनि अलिकति इन्टरनेसनली पनि मैले हेर्ने प्रयास गरेँ जस्तो नेपालको केसमा चाहिँ जेनरल टिचरको चाहिँ कम्पिटेन्सी डेभलप गरेछ टिचर्स कम्पिटेन्सी फ्रेमवर्क डेभलप गरेछ यति हुनुपर्छ भनेर त्यसमा अहिले झन् आइसिटी कम्पिटेन्सी भन्ने पनि अर्को चिज आएको छ तर टिबेट फिल्डको चाहिँ पाइएन जस्तो टिबेटमा पढाउने टिचर्सको कम्पिटेन्सी के हुनुपर्ने हैन त्यो चाहिँ अरू देशमा बनाउँदो रहेछ टिचर्सको कम्पिटेन्सी तपाईको चाहिँ टिबेट फिल्डमा बनाउँदो रहेछ जस्तो अब एउटा मैले के पाएँ भने यसमा यो जेनरल फ्रेमवर्क हो टिचिङ कम्पिटेन्सी मात्र भएर पनि पुगेन प्रोफेसनल कम्पिटेन्सी कम्युनिकेसन कम्पिटेन्सी एन्ड पर्सनल कम्पिटेन्सी आर भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट फर तपाईको भोकेसनल कलेज टिचर इफेक्टिभ जब पर्फर्मेन्स भनेर भनेको छ तर हाम्रोमा चाहिँ लास्टली के छ भन्दाखेरिमा द टिचिङ कम्पिटेन्सी मिन्स जुन त्यो कोर नलेज जाने हुनु पर्यो डेली प्रोडक्ट बनाएर पढाउनु छ भने डेली भनेको के हो डेली प्रोडक्ट भनेको के हो यो के हो कसो यसको डेटा जाने भयो तर चाहिँ किनभने लास्टली टिबेट सेक्टरमा त्यो एडल्टलाई पढाउने भएको हुनाले
I am Dr. Shahid Hussain Khan, professor of IUT Islamic University of Technology. I have been working since 2004 in Tibet sector, Department of Technical and Vocational. So let go ahead. Basically, before presenting this slide, I have to acknowledge that this one or today's presentation is a part of my project that is financed by the government of Turkey, and this is the outcome of that project. So in this project actually we have been working or we have been investigating 4 countries, that is Bangladesh from Asia and Palestine from Arab region and Uganda from African region. Basically our job was to choose or sample 3 countries from 3 different regions, and later on we have to compare with a developed country which was Australia. So today actually I am presenting only the Bangladeshi case study, and the entire project was funded $68,500 and it is already completed. So in today's presentation actually the key objective of this, I am not going to discuss those things, the reason is that time might be a issue. So let's go into deep. I think this slide is providing you a very important information not only for Nepal but also other countries who are working in Tibet sector. For example, our Bangladesh, we call it Tibet, Technical and Vocational Education. Some countries say BED, some countries say Career Education, but in Bangladesh it's known as Tibet. So in Nepal today when I found that you have an 8-stage qualification framework which is grounded from very beginning till the PhD education, like Australia. Australia has a 10-stage of qualification framework.
It does everything it can to achieve that goal. Recommendation here. Okay, the conclusion is the technical staff from Australia are very capable, but for some reason this group needed a lot more nurturing, unable to be independent as much as trainers, teachers, management, etc. So they need constant guidance. Remember, this is the first time. Okay, once they go through this process, they tend to become a lot more self-reliant and understand the process. Okay, we get to the consultant, the teacher. This is the teacher about working as a consultant, but the teacher was not familiar with fee-for-service. That is to say, they've got a more general view of what they're doing. They didn't understand deliverables. They started going away from deliverables. They thought, this is what I'm here to do, and they sort of moved away from what was required of them to what they thought they should be doing. They also had, this group had no access to text. They didn't really understand what they should be doing. They didn't have they didn't know what a tour was or where to find one, or even if they should look at it. For this group, you need to make sure that you follow the project document and that it's evidential, that you know that you're following the document, that everyone's following that document. You basically tick off on it, or you have some sort of assessment with them. Becomes the leader of the project in the country, yet it's being managed, by the Home Office in Australia. So it can be a dangerous situation where if you get a project manager who's self-governing, he decides this is his project, and after a few years, he decides it's going to go this way. If it's not properly managed, it's certainly turn into a big problem. So let's go to a summary of recommendations. Now again, we have to remember that this is how to best effectively effectively manage first-time TVET Australian staff that are deployed in a project, first time. The idea is that once they go through this process, they become much more aware of it. So when they return, these problems have almost taken care of themselves, but we need to make sure they do come back. Because if they encounter these issues, a lot of times they become disaffected, or they feel they failed because of the goal incongruence. So you need active HR reporting methods. So if you do hire Australians to come on your project, you have to make sure that you're aware who is first time and who's management. So for human resources, they need to be telling you these things. They need to actively be telling you who's first time, who's management, and what groups are doing.
In a very greater way, we can see in our daily news also. From that point, I have to say.
Thank you for your presentation, and this is your feedback.
My name is Srikanth Pandey, working at Ahmedabad University School of Education, and today I'm going to share a few things from my working paper. The title is Digital Literacy in the Sector, Addressing Pedagogical Change and Workplace Skill Needs Using Information and Communication Technology. When I would like to set the background, we can see the emerging ICTs around the world, and it has a power to change the society as well as the institutions involved in education, as well as the culture of the work in the digital era. And changing the pedagogy, when we change the pedagogy and we see everywhere change is there, then even the people who are involved in the working sector, they need to have appropriate skill to adopt the change. That situation is there. And when we connect it with the leadership, then leaders are the key players in the organization to make it its better vision, to go with the proper mission, and then lead the change in the society or organization. So, leaders in the TVET sector, they need to have a vision, knowledge, skill for change to meet the pace of change in the technology. So that's what the background. The society is changing because of the evolution in the technology, and the leaders at organizations, maybe TVET organization or any other kind of educational organization, they need to have a proper vision to meet the need of bring the relevant practice in the organization. Again, when we
particularly demonstrated occupational skill for different fields such as business, agriculture, corporate and service sector, health, marketing, technology, and trade industrial sector. TVET prepare people for skillful performance on practical tasks. So, TVET is the base of identity construction for female with knowledge, skill, and competencies. The identity of female is TVET is directly linked with their roles in the social participation, involvement in social and institutional context. The identity construction process of male and female is same. But Bhandari said that it is difficult for female due to our asymmetrical social norms, values, and cultural barriers. Still, there is gender division of role in our society. So, different barrier of society and culture, some females have been able to construct their identity in TVET training field. My focus is here, how the female constructed their identity at TVET.
Are more companies going to be willing to provide dual vocational education training places? And so we wanted to know, are they making a net benefit? Now, the problem is there are like methodologies that allow to have a detailed measurement of these net benefits. The problem is that we cannot apply this kind of approach before the end of the program. So we are facing a situation where the existing methodology is not really able to provide an answer. And so we also ask ourselves the question, how can we estimate these net benefits before the program is completed? And so that is what I'm going to present to you. So the data I'm going to show you is based on a survey. And the survey was conducted in April, May, so it's phone surveys. So there is a total of 62 companies. Among these, we had phone numbers of 59, which we contacted. 51 of them responded. So we have a very good response rate of about 68.
तेस्रो चाहिँ के छ भने टेक्निकल एजुकेसन एन्ड भोकेसनल ट्रेनिङमा पनि आफ्नो इन्स्टिट्युसन्सहरुसँग जे कुराहरु छ त्यसको चाहिँ इन्फर्मेसन मात्रै दिएको छ ओभरअल चाहिँ अरु इन्फर्मेसन छैन उसँग भने चौथो भोकेसनल डेभलपमेन्ट ट्रेनिङ सेन्टरसँग पनि वेब बेस्ड बिस छैन र एकदमै चाहिँ के छ भने म्यानुअली चाहिँ तयार गरेका चीजहरु मात्रै छन् त्यसपछि कटेजल स्मल स्केल इन्डस्ट्रीसँग पनि के छ भन्दाखेरि यो विक डेटाबेस एन्ड ल्याक अफ लिंक बिट्विन द थ्री लेभल्स अफ गभर्नमेन्ट तीनटै लेभल गभर्नमेन्टसँगको छैन त्यस्तै अब अर्को के छ भने डिमान्ड साइड तर्फ चाहिँ के छ भने होटल एसोसिएसनमा पनि फर्मल वेब बेस छैन तर चाहिँ के रहेछ भने कहिलेकाहीँ पैसाको कुरा आउँदाखेरि केन्द्रले चाहिँ स्थानीय तहका चाहिँ होटल एसोसिएसनमा पैसा माग्दो रहेछ त्यो कुरो बाहेक अरु किसिमका इन्फर्मेसनहरु कति चाहिँ लेबर छन् कस्ता खालका लेबर छन् के छन् त्यो खालको केही कुरो चाहिँ छैन चौथो चाहिँ के छ भने एम्प्लोयर सर्भिस प्रोभाइडर्स मतलब मेरो जब यसको नेपालमा एउटा संस्था हो जसले चाहिँ धेरैलाई जब दिएको छ धेरै इन्फर्मेसन दिन्छ त्यहाँनेर मात्रै मैले चाहिँ धेरै कुराहरु देखे त्यहाँनेर हुँदैछ र अरु ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यस्तो छैन यो कन्ट्र्याक्टर एसोसिएसनमा पनि के रहेछ भन्दाखेरि यो ओन्ली मान्छेहरुलाई ल्यायो काम लगायो एक्सपीरियन्स गरेर अनि त्यसपछि त्यो काम
also conducted training on the topic of women's enrollment in Tibet. A study found that women's enrollment in Tibet sector is very low due to the lack of awareness of the access to technical school and the lower level of education of women. The research expressed that there is many study conducted to the women participation in Tibet, but no one research on how women experience in their environment in Tibet and what their gender role. So my study found that what is the how women perceive or how women experience their involvement in non-traditional occupation and their socially constructed gender role. These are the policy petition and plan. Here our context we found many policies, petitions and plan in our regarding to the women participation, inclusion and positive discrimination. But I pointed out about some policy and provision in our context. In National Education System Plan 2028 made of vocational education compulsory at the secondary level of education. It is designed to the skilled worker. The next one is 14th periodic plan, also focus debate for entrepreneurship and the job opportunity. The another one is SDG Sustainable Development Goal 5 2014-30, achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls. The last debate for 2012 also highlight the equity, access, inclusion of people who want to skill training.
Yeah, so the main focus of these studies has to be on vocational technical training, but they can also be combined with other interventions. But the main focus has to be really the training program. That's a criteria for being included. And then also they have to be published between 1990 and April 2019. I think there's a little bit of misconcept I have to come to, because we actually searched until June. It was still ongoing, so it actually until June 2019. And then the impact they are estimating has to be relative to a control group that does not receive any training. That's also one of the criteria. Focus on youth, and also the methodology used in these studies has to be rigorous in the sense that it must be RCTs, quasi-experimental studies, or instrumental variable approaches. And one thing I forgot, also matching studies we included. So how did we search? We basically searched in different, like Google Scholar, for example, but then also more specific literature databases where we actually entered entire search strings, and these search strings, yeah, so the main focus of these studies has to be on vocational technical training, but they can also be combined with other interventions. But the main focus has to be really the training program. That's a criteria for being included. And then also they have to be published between 1990 and April 2019. I think there's a little bit of misconcept I have to come to, because we actually searched until June. It was still ongoing, so it actually until June 2019. And then the impact they are estimating has to be relative to a control group that does not receive any training. That's also one of the criteria. Focus on youth, and also the methodology used in these studies has to be rigorous in the sense that it must be RCTs, quasi-experimental studies, or instrumental variable approaches. And one thing I forgot, also matching studies we included. So how did we search? We basically searched in different, like Google Scholar, for example, but then also more specific literature databases where we actually entered entire search strings, and these search strings.
Expecting that the single school knows what it's supposed to do, and not being dependent on what they find out in CTVT. Now, we have 450, or maybe even more, 500 private Tibet institutions. They are already decentralized in the sense, as far as I know, they don't ask for central level something. They implement the program according to their business model. They want to make money. Now, can there be some spillover? Do you think that CTBT could learn a lot in this decentralization process from how these institutions are operating already on local levels?
So, very important questions here. If I have understood you clearly, there are different perspectives of decentralization. In my view, the present decentralization is the form of deconcentration. Certain functions are delegated to the different level of operating system. Yeah. So there is no devolution. Devolution gives power also. So it means the local level or respective level will get autonomy to implement, to design their program and to implement the program as per their need. So, my view on the argument is that this kind of decentralizations has not worked in Nepal. So we have to think devolution, in terms of devolution, giving autonomy to the lower levels, and I talked about the multi-level governance. It doesn't mean that all three governments work in conflicting way. There will be the council, intergovernmental councils, there will be a national framework that will guide our level of governments, and there will be autonomy also. Then it is
safety, because safety comes first in the destination, whereas in Nepal it is ignored largely. And language and life skill and health feature has been the important component of this package. And foreign employment, the most important thing, foreign employment linkage, it is facilitated by the training providers, the training institutes, private institutes, and we have set the criteria of minimum wage they should be getting is 900 PR, which is around 27,000 maybe. And the tracer study, this is a part of the tracer study, was conducted in 1617 by SPC and SAMI together, and I assisted in this. And a part of this in which I was involved is calling the graduates tracer study, and another part which the research was done is conducted in the destination country with the employers. So I have triangulated the data with this study also. And for the research, like I have taken the capability approach as a theoretical tool. The capability approach and the freedom concept is of Amartya Sen, which says that the individual needs skills, attitude, and knowledge in order to flourish oneself, to enter in the field of work. And with that ability, with that capability, they are able to perform well in their work, as well as they will have the freedom of choice and voice as well. So
that is organized by government or public, that industry or
all the factory is private. Yeah. Some is national or local company, some is a foreign company's branch, and many also Japanese companies there.
Okay, yeah. On the which base of you have to identify that area?
Which base?
On which base on which district that area, how you define, how you identify like that?
I mean, it's a hard question actually. You already maybe answer. Actually, how do you categorize this industry? Maybe your answer is that based on the foreign
by industry zones. Because to make more efficient the survey, we target the industry zone. We approach through the Ministry of Education to Chamber of Commerce, and then Chamber of Commerce to the export zone. It's actually the export. The Chittagong and also in so we export zone administration. From there we got that recommendation.
Other countries is addressed by. Among them, I selected only three research participants. Well, on the basis of three research participants' stories, I have developed this paper. In the research process, what I have done is I have put synonyms to maintain the anonymity. I have not disclosed their original name over here. There are academically there are some issues behind that. That's why I have put M1, M2, and M3 over here, and I have developed stories of three people who are in especially they are my neighbors. There can be question, why do you do this is with your neighbors? I'm clear about that as well. Methodology, particularly when we talk about qualitative research, definitely when we talk about the ethnographic research, definitely it falls under qualitative research. It falls under post-positivistic paradigm. Sometimes in between, I have attempted to present myself as a research participant. Sometimes I have my experience also have injected into this paper. In terms of theory, I have briefly tried to inject social capital theory over here, and social capital theory is in the place it talks about intangible asset. Okay, in another set, Pierre Bourdieu also talks about enigmatic capitalism, enigmatic abilities of people as well. I've tried to inject this points over here. Actually, first I want to present the
Each and it's not a household census, but it's a census based on economic unit. So they go to the economic unit and get that information. So now what we do is we have divided, we have selected for our primary data, we have selected 4 areas, 4 institutes or 4 locations, 1 in the mountain, 1 in the hill, and 2 in the Tarai where most of the economic activities are done. And these are Kanchanpur, Kailari and Kanchanpur, you know the name. One is up in the mountain, okay, one is in the hill. And then we have selected the ward, the area where they have maximum economic unit. And then we will go there and ask a question. So that's the demand side. What do they need? What sort of worker they're trying to hire in the next 2 years? Okay, what do they do? What is their business? It could be service, it could be manufacturing, it could be banking, it could be tourism and farming. Okay, so that's where we are trying to get. Now we will train about 15 enumerators who would be GIS tagged. So in the team there are about 8 people, computer engineers, computer software designer, where they would be using tablets so that they would be GIS tagged, so that we can locate, we can change it, we can make correction. And all these things, at the end of the day, we hope by the end of November, we will come up where the mayor, the head of that particular municipality or the local government would have, they can click and say that these are the demands in these areas at this level, whether it's at the diploma level or whether it's at the sub-diploma level. And this is the scenario, the supply in that. Now, there's a lot of catches because there's a lot of migration happening.
And the contest. In 2005, Benin government has introduced the reform by the decree number 117/2005. By introduction this program, the dual apprenticeship that we call CP, and the upgrading informal apprenticeship that we call CPM. After completing the dual apprenticeship system, apprentices receive a formal recognition by the certificate of professional qualification that we call CP certificate. And after completing the CPM program, apprentices receive the CPM certificate of occupational qualification. Our research question is, what are the social implications of these reforms? In the context of development, Norman Long has used develop actor-oriented perspective to analyze the interaction between actors. Hence, we use this approach to analyze the interaction between stakeholders of Tibet system in Benin. Benin is a West African country, like you can see here. And we conduct this study in south of Benin.
At least in our cases, is basically that in our daily lives, we would stay in our houses for our agricultural season, and when we used to have dry seasons for 3 months, we should eat. The very concept of migration as a migration researcher, it's called Bhumfir. First I go for 3 months, I go and then I feed. And these concepts like migration and all does not literally fit into Nepali politics.
So in this case, in this activity, we are planning to work together with 10 to 12 individual, private. It could be a training center, it could be an employer association, it could be employer. And we collect lessons on good practices and we have also, this is a practical extent, and we also feed the lessons learned and good practice in our in drafting our policy diagram. Well, these are some of the description how we did in this activity.
The basic thing is you try to create a partnership. We encourage a partnership where, let's say, a training institution, a Tibet institution partners with some employers, and the employers say, we will take on your trainees, but then they would need these kind of experiences. So in that way, we see that the supply and demand is meeting one another, where employers come forward with their particular needs for skills, and the training institution tries to meet it. Okay, so.
Yeah, no,
Okay, thank you. This drawing is supposed to show the red thread in our approach. When our project ends, it's going towards the end, it's going to hand over to government a policy guiding document. It will have not only some good advice, but it also will be very practical.
Not meet it very nicely the requirement of the industries demand too. There's a big gap. So even though theoretically it is happening for the development of occupational skills standard and so forth, the resource management is the issue again. Human, the motivation part. Dr. Khanan is not around. We left the government system. The Minister of Education, we should have asked him the question. What is that part? Physical facilities, there is this difference in the competition also. Financial operation is not only the efficient fund flow and great, the checking and the monitoring part, but also the feasibilities. This is what we have been experiencing as an agency working in the Tibet Center for long. Okay. There is a need for institutional and individual capacity development for Tibet in Nepal. Capacity development of professionals and trainees is not yet systematically addressed. Improvements needed. TI alone definitely cannot go. The national needs that we have seen, it's very difficult as the institutional development consultant. I can simply say this is not possible. We have been unable to inspire and motivate private sector for developing professionals, managers and leaders in Tibet subsector development. That has not gone well so far, honestly. INGOs are still directly implementing the projects, which is a fact. Let us take the example of the British Council. Let us take the example of Save the Children. Let us take the example of, they are directly implementing the training programs. Is it because
Finally, I got just that the value denotes the individual belief and attitudes, when in most of the cases it is associated with the experiences, education, family background, and the physical environment. All the components directly affect to determine the attitude of the students. Now, the key values such as caring, trust, justice, activism remains significant. And this is the major tool of the nursing profession, but this is remains same because their attitude is not different. All the teaching and the scholarship border students have the same attitude, so that this is remains significant. The value of nursing profession and no differences between the specialty and the nursing students. Now, I correlate, I synthesize the discussion with some literature and with some theory. I simplify this
It needs to revise administration, curricula, qualification, attitude, and institution premise. Thank you very much.
Any question, please? Yes.
Thank you. This is very nice.
Informal skills which are not, which less recognized by the system. So that's the problem. If we start thinking from the system qualification framework, and this is all market-driven idea, and then ultimately, lastly, converted to IF. So, story of Hari leads to think on the nature of learning, working, and living. It's more complicated. It's not only the income. Is neoliberal market not only determines. Like Hari is very happy to send money to his parent. Hari is living with his brother and brother-in-law. So Tibet is not a very simple relationship between skill, employability, and income. That's not very simple interpretation of the Tibet, which we can say from the story of Hari. It's more transformative approach to value the decent work, living a life with dignity more than income. So income matters, but it's not sufficient, it's not enough. Man and Ursula for these two very insightful suggestions. Of course, I'm locating the case of Fadi and 3 other participants I have interviewed, but writing a paper. So it's not possible to tell the different stories of these 3 others participants. My focus is on non-formal space and informal learning. That is one thing. And why I talked these 3 things: qualification system, quality, and system, qualification framework, and the quality assurance, because mainly I reviewed
at different phases. So this is also missing. So third case is Mr. Abhinav. He's from tourism industry, and his focus is on the need of research on industry and prepare students accordingly. But here the case is not that frustrated, you know. Employees engagement, he feels that employees engagement contribute to the Tibet education, and the engagement of employees can bring good coordination, and employees can understand many aspects of Tibet. So the point here was like, it's not only we sensitize government officials, it's also important for employees to understand their role. The sensitization of employees are equally important, and we kind of like, we are missing that point. I mean, it's like, okay, business sectors are for profit making, we all understand that, but if they don't understand their contribution or like their role or how that will really support, then maybe a lot of aspects will be missing. And third is like this morning, like I was on one of the presentation which was done on the cost benefit analysis. So it was really good. So cost benefit analysis results like may attract more employer for their direct engagement apprenticeship as well. So because I mean, as you all know and we all accept it, employers always see the money. So they want to see the numbers, you know, or the contribution or the benefits. So these things has to be shown to them, or like we can engage on this process so that they understand it. So what he told was like, what we saw will be student come to the industry with inadequate skill. Additionally, even educator and trainer do not have proper idea of the industry, which I feel is more problematic. We don't find proper space to engage on Tibet ecosystem.
So and vocational skills on their own. So what happened is that after I graduated and I had to do my work, I had to make technology to learn everything like technical skill on my own. If the teachers had been using it in the classroom for the as a pedagogical tool, then I would have developed that skill, right, to use it in a classroom. But that was not the case in my case. So theoretical framework. This is I use the experiential learning by Koch. And techniques of inquiry. What happened is that this study site was in the public school of Las Cruces. I took 3 schools and there were 5 teachers. Participants were the middle school science teachers, and I was studying like how they were using technology in the classroom. and my method of data collection method was observation, semi-structured interview, and I also use photos, but I try not to use that, so I okay. So what happened is that I'm coming to my discussion side. So they were using technology as a pedagogical tool. The teachers, they were doing letting the students to do the project work and research. The students were engaged, and also they were communicating and collaborating in the informal session of doing the project work. And teachers were also using technology to provide feedback and also individualize instructions, because in a classroom full of 30 or 50 students, it is not possible for the teachers to individualize instruction based on each student's need. So what happened is that teachers were using technology to individualize the instruction.
Well, this is the model. Many Bible. And funding. The main funding is women are less likely to be in a STEAM tertiary programs than men. This result indicates the importance of the modern education in the decisions for the persons, or women and specifically. There are no difference between the core of the no impact of the public policy regarding the gaps between the men and women. Well, so the final reflection, there are persisting gender gaps in the areas of STEAM and non-STEAM tertiary studies in Chile. In Chile, bad secondary education affects the application to pursue tertiary programs in the STEAM areas. The effect is positive for men and negative for women. Yeah? We should promote public policy initiatives that help closing the gaps between men and women. And in my country, there are very too much public policy in this topic. It's a concern for the policy makers, but
areas. Among them, the very first area that I chosen is fostering youth employment and entrepreneurship. That means youth are very important for national development, for employment and entrepreneurship. Well, for this study, we have got an objective here to explore youth perception about Tibet. How do they perceive about Tibet? And what are the key stimuli that could attract the youth towards Tibet? And to obtain these objectives, we have formulated two research questions. The very first research question is that how do youth perceive about Tibet? We have categorized youth into two segregates. That means one is Tibet involved students, Tibet involved employed, and another non-Tibet involved youth. Here in two dimensions, one for Tibet youth, what are their perception, perspectives and their satisfaction level, and for non-Tibet, what is their understanding about Tibet, and whether they are willingness to involve in Tibet or not. In those phenomena, we will try to find out their perception about the Tibet. And another, second is, what are the key stimuli to attract youth towards Tibet? That is another question. It will be described by necessity, condition and suggestion of the youth. Methodology, we have used empirical research. We have been 65 households of Samriti Told Development Committee of Rayapur, ward number 5, Navalpur, and it is mixed method. We have taken 42 youth. Among 42 youth, 19 were Tibet involved and 23 were non-Tibet involved youth. And we did qualitative questionnaires and semi-structured interview schedule.
So good morning and namaste. I'm Prem. This is my work in progress paper, and based on that paper, this morning I'm going to talk about Occupation, Business and Technology Education subject that is called OBT. So being taught in community school from grade 6 to 8. Let me start with context. So OBT, Occupation, Business and Technology Education subject was really identified by this school sector reform plan 2019 to 15. So that had identified the need to include this in education, school education curriculum. And based on that, MOE drafted action plan and piloted in 2010 and then introduced it in school curriculum. So MOE introduced this vocational stream separately in the secondary level from 9 onwards, and at the same time this vocational orientation, software part, soft skill part introduced from grade 6 to 8. And the soft skill part was introduced aiming career preparation as well as orientation into the world of work. And so this Occupation, Business and Technology subject being taught in the grade 6 to 8 includes different topics of the content that include like professional education, career education to business and training, market management, vegetable farming related to agriculture, and also animal husbandry and different health related, and including the tailoring and local technology and modern technology and so on. So though that is already introduced and being taught in the school, the situation at this moment is not really good. So that means there are some issues, and so
moving into my introduction, I have following points for my introduction. Like, as we all know that education is a fundamental element for an individual's growth, and this is not limited to general education but also technical and vocational education also. It is the one which produces trained and skilled human resources and provides practical and technical education that is necessary for the development of individual as well as for the society information. So while talking about technical and vocational education in Nepal, it formally started after the establishment of CTBT in 1989, which now has 429 affiliated and 45 constituent institutes. And some of these institutions are running under government, and some are getting support from donor agencies, and some few have made themselves financially sustainable by charging certain fees to the trainers. So as we know that our economy is remittance-based economy, and every year a large number of Nepalese youth leave the country for foreign employment. When we look at the Ministry of Labor and Finance data of 2018, in the past consecutive fiscal years 15-16 and 16-17, the Department of Foreign Employment issued 7,86,560 permits for foreign employment. However, majority of these populations, of this labor force, are unskilled and are compelled to sell their labor for cheap price. If they would have access to TVET, technical and vocational education, TVET would have made more skilled and competitive manpower so that they can sell their labor for better price in the international job market. In addition, not only for the international job market, within the country too, a huge number of trained people is necessary if we want to speed up our development. So in these slides, I am talking about few policies and practices. Actually, there are many policies and practices regarding TVET, but for this paper, I am considering only two policies, which is 9th Plan and then TVET policy 2012. 9th Plan brought the key educational policy regarding TVET. It encourages foreign institutes to establish their affiliated institute in Nepal by providing them various facility. Similarly, the government of Nepal felt the need of national TVET guidelines to systematize the TVET provision in Nepal, and then develop the TVET policy 2012 with 3 clear objectives, like expanding access and ensuring inclusion, ensuring quality and relevance, and coordination of institutional arrangements
in the industrial area or somewhere else in their at home with the agricultural product. Anyway, huge number of still the working age seems unemployed. And very interesting fact is almost 80% labor force do not have secondary education. It shows that they enter into the labor market before they are even higher secondary education. And we have got Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, CTVT. It is mostly you find the responsible for training the people and organizing the programs. And since its establishment, just we can see the only few people are in the diploma or the technical school, we call it TSLC, have been graduated from its establishment. So this shows still there are lots of people in Nepal waiting for those kind of skill which prepares them for the labor market. And recently, restructured our government has not even, you can see only 547 units have technical institute available. It means still some of the local units have even not a single technical institute available for training those kind of youth force. So it shows that at the same time we need a skill. There is a lack of skilled labor market in Nepal. At the same time, institution which prepare those labor force is also necessary to develop, or the lack we can see. So if we see the linkages, there is always relation. When you skill the people, then of course they will have the productivity in terms of their economy, in terms of their livelihood. Skill is very safe for them, or it prepares for them a market. So in this situation, Kathmandu University also realized that becoming one of the leading university has to work for the Tibet sectors. So in this scenario, Kathmandu University initiated Master in Technical and Vocational Education and Training Program in 2018. And let me slightly talk about Kathmandu University. It is autonomous organization, non-profit, and a non-governmental institution. And it has got 7 schools, and School of Education is one of them. And it runs undergraduate degree in Chinese language through PhD in Development Studies and Leadership. And Tibet was designed with the interaction with the lots of Tibetan stakeholders. They were the government
and employability. I did it with my friend, Mr. Ansarani Pfeiffer, who was the founder principal of this school 30 years ago. And we have been always interested with the performance of this school. Last 20 years we found going very well. Now we found is going down. And we are a bit worried how we can make it a robust, strong organization. That is our effort. We will not stop this effort at this point of presentation. We will go beyond whatever we can do for this school in the future, individually. Because we are not in a very strong government position at this time. We cannot make big decisions, but morally we can support the organization. And why we choose to do this work is the learning takes place in the school. Learning takes place in the classroom. Learning takes place in the workshop. Learning takes place in the laboratories, in the field, everywhere. This is very, very important for the learners and for the users and for everybody. That's why we choose this title for presentation now. JTS last three decades faced many dramatic changes. The first change was the political change from panchayat to the federal system. Now there were several political turbulences, and the school has to face this. With these political turbulences, school is easily affected. And then socio-culture. Now the society over the 30 years period has been changed. Lots of people are moving from villages to the small towns, to the big cities, and lots of turbulences are coming in the societies and in the families. And this has to be covered by the school. And educational changes. In the beginning, we had a very
about all these things which was interesting now related to change. There's been social changes, there's been governmental changes, there's been changes forced on the country by donors and coming from a third world country. I don't think disrespect for donors, because I believe donors do not come, they're not benign. Donors come with their own agendas, and the agendas are linked. And issues of marketization, issues of federalization, those are all issues which are terms that have become part of the way we speak. And one of the questions we can ask ourselves